Hi, Scott Orlin with CINEMA-Magazin. Cancun, Matt Damon. I don't know which is more glamorous. I honestly can't figure that out. But actually, we're going to be talking about two different projects that Matt's associated with, Elysium and Behind the Candelabra. So, could not think of polar opposite looks and roles for you as an actor. So Elysium, how much of a sci-fi fan are you? How much do you tap into all that?
I'm a huge sci-fi fan. I think those movies are the rarest, but the greatest when they're done right, like Blade Runner or Alien and movies like that. But I've been waiting for basically 15 years for one to come across my plate that was good enough to do. I mean, Avatar, I couldn't do because of my schedule.
He could have been an Avatar.
Well, I couldn't. There was a direct conflict. I couldn't. I would have loved to have done it. But finally, like, meeting with Neil was a lot like talking to Cameron about Avatar, because he really had envisioned this entire world with every detail, and it was really a matter of just helping him bring this fully formed idea to life.
Well, I want to talk about the politics of the movie a little bit, because it really makes a statement about the super wealthy are able to go and live in this utopic world, and everybody else has to struggle, and it's almost condemned to live on Earth.
Yeah, but it's not heavy-handed in that way. Like, I talked to Neil about that this morning, and he was just saying, he goes, I don't want to make a message movie. It's got to be entertaining, and it really has to. But I think thematically, that idea of the growing inequality and the kind of the chasm that separates the haves and the have-nots, will resonate with people. Definitely.
Now, let's see about, speaking of resonating with people, and that is Going to Bed with Michael Douglas,
yes.
Which I'm sure you're one of the few actors,
let me tell you,
that could ever say that you've done that.
And then he will resonate.
He will resonate. But how much are we really, a lot of people don't even know, probably of generation, who Liberace was. So is it really a love story? I mean, what would you kind of say the story is?
Yeah, it's a story. Liberace was kind of before Lady Gaga, before Elton John, before these great showmen. Liberace was the ultimate showman. He was the biggest act on earth. He was this incredible. He drew these huge crowds. He was the biggest show in Vegas, and but he had this life, because of the time he lived in. He had to kind of hide, the fact that he was gay, and so the story follows the relationship that he has with Scott Thorson, who's his kind of last major relationship that Liberace had, a true kind of love affair. But they had it was a very complicated relationship with some, dysfunction and, power imbalance, and there were age difference. There were a lot of things that they struggled through, and eventually Scott became addicted to drugs, and that was really the end of their relationship. So it was a very tumultuous relationship, and that's kind of what the movie covers.
But Scott's pretty flamboyant too. I mean, from the hair, wait till you see all his wigs in this,
good wigs,
to his costumes and all that. How much did you live that moment of who this guy was through what he had to look like?
Yeah, it was really helpful, actually. The clothes and how they made me feel, and the whole look of the guy was really fun to do and work on, and all these different departments did a really good job. Liberace and Scott actually got plastic surgery to look more alike, and so we had prosthetics. There was a lot. It was really fun, and so it was the makeup and hair departments, the wardrobe departments. We all really it was a big group effort to try to create the right look for these guys.
The chameleon, Matt Damon, as always, such a pleasure. Thank you,
Scott.
sir. This is Scott Orlin. Until next time.